Hey guys, welcome back to Sister SLPs to Be. I'm Sarah, no Eileen. But I actually want to talk today about choosing the SLP route versus the reading specialist route. This is something I've been wanting to talk about for a while because I was in that position 3 to 4 years ago today, and now I'm on the other side. Like, I'm fully graduated. I'm applying for my Texas SLP licensure to be an SLP intern. And I have no regrets in the route I decided to take. So I'm going to get into that today. So the reasons I chose to become an SLP versus a reading specialist were primarily because from what I heard from my supervisors, a master's in speech language pathology would be worth more than a master's in reading becoming a reading specialist. So that was primary one, because if I was going to spend money and time and energy in getting masters, I wanted it to do something for me. Two, being an SLP would generate a higher opportunities of income. Three, if I was an SLP, I wouldn't be restricted just to the public school sector or just the school setting in general. I could work with early childhood intervention. I could work within the hospital systems. I could work in outpatients, rehabs, nursing homes. I could work in home health. I could start my own private practice. There's just so much more opportunities to be an SLP than a reading specialist. So when I say that the SLP masters in communication science and disorders would be worth more, the masters in it would be worth more than becoming a reading specialist, is because I'll never forget when I was a student teacher back in 2018, myself and my cooperating teacher, wonderful lady, love her, she was working on getting her master's to become a reading specialist. She had been a reading teacher for 7 years. She started in pre-K, then kindergarten, then second grade, then when I was with her in third grade. And she had been a reading teacher the entire time. And as you know, like when she taught first grade, that's a pivotal teaching students how to read time. And so she had all that experience on top. She had her master's degree. And I'll never forget how that year she actually lived really close to the school, and she loved that school. She was there for the entire 7 years that she was there. And the reading specialist job post opened up because they left. The previous one left, and she applied, and so did a first grade teacher from the same school. And the first grade teacher, who did not have her master's, period, but she had like 15 years of experience or something like that in first grade, the job went to her instead of my cooperating teacher, who had just been freshly minted with a reading specialist master's degree. And to me, that was kind of like a big eye-opener to me. Like, the reading specialist master's isn't worth everything. Like, more experience being a reading teacher, specifically a reading teacher in first grade, does more for you. So to me, I'm like, if that's what I wanted to do, why would I go forward and do that when I could just be a reading teacher for longer and it would be cheaper, right? Because it's an investment in yourself. And then when I became an actual fourth grade teacher, reading, writing, social studies teacher, I met my school's local speech language pathologist and reading specialist. Loved them both. Wonderful ladies. Honestly, everyone in education is a great human. Almost everybody in education, elementary education, is a great human being, just admirable people. Anyway, what I learned is that the ISD had almost, and a lot of ISDs do this, at least in Texas, have like programs. Like, you could do this program for free, and it's after school time, and you have schoolwork, you have a professor, you do it for 2 years, and then it's like it's like a master's degree, but it's only worth something within the district, and it's free. So that was interesting. So essentially, that's what my reading specialist did. First of all, she had tons of experience. She was years in, I don't know how much, being a reading teacher. Then she did this district only program, and then she got the reading specialist job, and she was phenomenal. And then the speech language pathologist, that was a little bit more foreign to me, but my sister was going through the process. I met all her friends. My old college roommate went through the process, and I was witnessing her grad school time. And I had my cousin who introduced me and Eileen to the speech language pathology world. She didn't get her master's, but she stopped at being an SLPA. But like, she loved it. And so I don't know, to me it just seemed like I would be less stuck and I would have more opportunities if I went the speech language pathology route. Now, that saying, it is also a big commitment. Here are the cons. The cons being, instead of like a 2-year program, like if you were to become a reading specialist, it would be a 2-year program. And you typically have to continue working with it. So they work with your schedule. You could be a full-time teacher during it, and they probably want you to be a full-time teacher during it. So you're like making money, you're spending money, and like you don't have to stop working. They want you to keep working. Versus speech language pathology, like you can't work. They highly recommend you don't work. And I worked for 1 year of it. It's hard. It's a lot to balance. It's a lot of information. But me being a teacher, and if you're like me, you're a teacher, or maybe you're some other degree, right? Because I was a leveler. I met a lot of levelers. Not all levelers are ex-teachers. All walks of life. Everybody's welcome. But if you didn't have a communication science and disorders undergrad degree, you're going to have to do a leveling year. So that's going to cost you money. That's an entire extra year on top of the 2 years to get your master's. So if you do reading specialist, it'll be probably 2 years max if you go full time. But if you go speech language pathology, it's going to be 3 years max if you go full time, and you kind of have to. And it's harder to work versus the 2-year one. They want you to work. So becoming speech language pathologist, maybe the payoff, in my personal opinion, is bigger. But it is more of a time commitment, and it is more of a financial commitment. So I know not everyone is in a place to do that. The leveling year is the year that I worked, not full-time, part-time. That's my private tutor year. It was manageable. I knew a couple of the other levelers. One was in like an ABA therapist. Another one was another private tutor. The other one was doing like odds and ends here and there. And another one was a teacher for 5 years. She knew she wanted to be a speech language pathologist after year 2, but when she looked up the cost to become a speech language pathologist, she said, I have to work for 3 more years, save my money so I could put myself back in college. And yeah. And the thing about leveling too is you need straight A's. Like, there's no doubt, there's no clowning around. If you're gonna go back to college and get a non-degree, you're just leveling courses, you need straight A's. You need to make connections with the professors. That way you can get into a master's program. And that matters a lot. To me, it is worth it. Like going back to the schools during my externship, I found a lot more joy. Not a lot more joy. Don't get me wrong. Teaching brought me joy. But it was a lot of work. And don't get me wrong, SLP is a lot of work too. But I don't know. It was a better match for me when I was in the elementary schools than a teacher. And then on top of that too, being able to see an entirely different side, like the hospital side, acute care side, totally different, radically different. And I just love the opportunity. There's actually a lot of teachers that are like become SLPs, and it's really interesting to see some of them totally step away from the school systems and some of them go back in, kind of like me. Will I be there forever? I don't know. But the point is, like, I don't have to be if I don't want to be. I won't be stuck. So the mobility matters. Anyway, if you have any questions, let me know. You could follow along to me and Eileen's speech language pathology journey here. Please like, comment, and subscribe.